Let's read a couple more verses, verses 6 and 15 from Leviticus 16.
Then Aaron shall offer the bull for the sin offering, which is for himself, that he may make atonement for himself and for his household. Then he shall slaughter the goat of the sin offering, which is for the people, and bring its blood inside the veil, and do with its blood as he did with the blood of the bull, and sprinkle it on the mercy seat and in front of the mercy seat. And the mercy seat, we remember, is the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. That was the only piece of furniture in the most holy compartment of the tabernacle. We'll describe that in a little bit.
All right, wait. This seems a little bit odd. We're talking about the sin offering and burnt offerings. Why were there different sin offerings? Wasn't one enough? Seems to make sense. Like you have an offering for sin, it's done, and you move on.
Yeah.
Why wasn't it just one?
Oh, good question. It would seem that offering the bull would be enough to atone for the sins of Israel. So there's clearly a message by adding the Lord's goat as part of the sin offering. It's saying that the class pictured by the goat has something to offer in cleansing the world of sin. And we'll get into that when we see what the Apostle Paul says in Hebrews 13. But to get a sense of what Leviticus 16 is describing, we have to first envision what the tabernacle itself looked like.
And Tom, I'll reference episode 1099 when you were last on the program. Should Christians care about the Jewish tabernacle? And it's a great companion to today's study. So the tabernacle, as we had said, it was this portable tent. It was constructed of a large rectangular courtyard with a smaller tent structure within it. And when you first entered the courtyard, the first thing you saw would be a copper altar was used for the animal sacrifices. And if you go a little further towards this inner tent, there was a piece called the laver, and that's where the priest would wash before entering the tent before him. And this tent before him was divided into two rooms. The first and larger room was called the Holy. And in the Holy, there were three items: a wooden table overlaid with gold containing 12 loaves of unleavened bread. It was the table of showbread. And across from this table was a golden candlestick with 7 branches, each branch having a cup filled with olive oil. It was the source of light for that particular room, the Holy. And then before the second curtain that went into the next room was an incense altar, again made from wood overlaid with gold, where incense was burned.
Okay, so now we're standing in the Holy. We go forward from there, the next smaller room, and really the most important room was called the Most Holy. It contained the Ark of the Covenant, which represented God's presence with Israel. The top of the ark was called the mercy seat. There was a bright light right above the mercy seat, often called the Shekinah glory. The word Shekinah comes from the Hebrew word shakan, which means to reside or to dwell. So Shekinah glory means God's presence was dwelling with Israel. In Exodus 25:22, God says this to Moses. He says, "There I will meet with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubs that are upon the Ark of the Covenant." Now, back to the Day of Atonement. After putting on sacrificial robes, the high priest killed the bull in the courtyard of the tabernacle. Then, standing beside the altar, he caught some of its blood in a special container, and he took that blood into the Most Holy, and he sprinkled it 7 times. It says he sprinkled the blood upon the mercy seat eastward and before the mercy seat. Now, that description may suggest that the blood was sprinkled in the shape of a cross. Now, if that was the case, then it really points to the intended symbolism that the sacrifice of the bull represents the sacrifice of Jesus who died on a cross.
See, now that little detail right there, that it just gives you the sense of the foresight of God's plan, putting into that ancient time, thousands of years ago, a picture of the sacrifice of Jesus, not just in the bull and in the blood, but in the way it was offered. It's just a remarkable evidence to pay attention to these Old Testament pieces, because they will unfold the New Testament in a way that we can't even imagine. So